Afternoon.
The O-line, a lot of different combinations this year. What do you like about what they've done despite that, and where can that unit improve going forward down the stretch?
I was just looking at the numbers last week as far as reps these guys have taken compared to last year that were on the last year's squad. And, besides Reisner and Quinn, the other guys have doubled their amount of game reps. And you look at that and you're sitting there and you see the growth, and they get an opportunity to step up, and they're doing a great job as far as just understanding what we're asking of them. They're getting better every single day as far as just conceptually. But I give a lot of credit to those guys because it's not easy in their situation, just getting thrown in there in those opportunities. And I really, as Graham had stepped into the center position, I really feel like he's done a really good job of commanding where those guys go and how to get things accomplished. And he did a lot, with his injury, and he stayed, sharp mentally. He's a sharp guy. But I think, him controlling the inside and getting everybody on the same page, I think they're doing a better job, each week.
How much you guys were working, really working to get that explosive run that hadn't quite been there this year. So, to get it, just what was that feeling, but also where do you feel like the run game is starting to maybe?
Yeah, last week I challenged him because our top run was 17 yards, 3 times in a row. Couldn't get over 17. So I gave him a plus 18 challenge last week, so 2 weeks ago. They didn't get it. So this week, or last week, they got it. And when they hit the 52, that sideline was jacked. And the coaches were jacked. Like, they were committed to getting that done. And I might have promised them something. They don't know what it is, but they're going to get it hopefully tomorrow. But there's a lot to say about that. Establishing the run game is something that we talked about when this whole coaching staff got here. And we haven't been able to get those marks, those explosive plays. You've been chipping away. You were getting happy if you're getting 5-6 yards. I think they're really dedicating themselves and their craft, all 11 guys, not just the O-line, but I'm talking about the receivers, the quarterback getting us in the right play. But everyone being on the same page and really taking pride in the run game.
What kind of stabilizing force has Latavius been? And, of course, he did have that break with that explosive on Sunday.
Yeah, Latavius is a special man, not only as a player but as a person. And you could see when he first stepped in these doors, like he was going to command that room as far as just the leadership qualities that he has. He's going to try to lead young guys and take them under his wing. He's always asking questions. He's always poking holes and trying to find the why in most of the stuff that we're doing. And he starts to understand he's getting better. And for him to take the brunt of the reps last week at his age and the way he runs, there's a lot of respect for that guy as far as how he takes care of his body and what type of pro he is.
Speaking of that room, how beneficial will it be to have Mike Boone back, and what sort of role do you envision for him?
Having another guy like that's played in a lot of games, it's going to be a different pace of back. He's more of that scat guy, the outside zone guy. He can run inside zone. He could be a receiver for us. So it's an element that we haven't had since he left as far as the speed portion of it, and we're excited to have him back. But just like any injury when you're coming back from, you got to be smart with what you ask of him and just protect him as much as you can.
With the injuries you've had at receiver and the amount of attention that Cortland's getting, when you set out to plan against defenses, how do you try to find ways to give him the ball, and how do you have to walk the line between whether he's a decoy to get other guys or try to force people?
It's a great question. Situational football, you try to look at those matchups and see what they're trying to take away. I think Baltimore does a great job as far as switching things up with their, going against their top receivers. They'll cloud to their side occasionally, and then they'll cloud the other side. They do a great job of mixing it up. So, with a defense like this, you got to have multiple answers, and you got to, through the flow of the game, you got to see what what they've been practicing all week and what their answers are for our offense as far as putting guys in different spots. Having those other guys step up like Brandon and Jalen and Montrell, those are guys that you're putting in there, Dulcich, that are still getting their ground. They're still learning as far as how to play football and getting the football, mindset. You can teach them all the X's and O's as much as you can, but when it comes to stepping on the field and actually going through it and having that football IQ, I think they're moving in that right direction. And the more they get comfortable with the system, the more we're asking of them, we can expand off of that.
Do you believe you have to get Russell out of the pocket more, roll him out, sprint him out, move the pocket? And What might be some of the challenges where it's maybe easier said than done?
I'll tell you what, if you look back probably about 3 years ago, the boots, the keeper game, they were all over the place on the video. It seems like defenses are really getting better at stopping that. I know our defense struggled with it early in OTAs, and they made an adjustment. You look at all the video from, week 1 all the way up until now with each opponent, they are doing a really good job as far as taking away that issue. You got a lot more stand-up defensive ends compared to years prior. You don't see a lot of those 4-down fronts with 6 techniques and tight 9s. You get these mammoths on the edge that set the edge. They're standing up and they see everything. So that's the advantage that these guys have defensively. When you have these big guys on the edge, they can kind of control what happens on that side of it. So you got to get a little bit more creative with the sprint outs, get a little bit more creative with the keeper game. But that is something we're always trying to search to find, because that's typically an easy completion. It gets people moving and then gets people in space.
Coach, you mentioned their defense and how good it is. How much has it improved with Roquan Smith, and what does he bring to them?
He's a special player, and in my opinion, one of the best backers in the league. And you can see that he fit in very nicely and very smoothly. He's a guy that he's all over the place on the video. He's strong, he's athletic, he's smart, physical. So he's a guy that fits their system extremely well. And just looking at their defense as a whole, from the first level to the third level, they're really talented, and you can tell that they're able to get in and out of pressures because they're so used to playing in that defense, and they can make their own calls. So that's the advantage that they have in those situations. Sometimes they guess wrong though, and you can see that on the video. So we're going to try to, as much as we can, limit the penetration up front, but also account for those linebackers, that second level that can fly around.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.